In the cold black of space, silence ruled. The stars shimmered in the distance like frozen sparks, and the Orion sector floated quietly empty, forgotten and dangerous.
Wow.
Nothing had moved there for 100 years. Entering after the Burn War ended was dead space. It was haunted by old wrecks and the memory of the last human war. But something was moving now, in the center of the Forbidden Zone. A dark shape slid through space, slowly, smoothly, like a shadow swimming in oil. There were no lights, no engines firing, no signal, yet it was there massive, silent, alive. The Galactic Peace Council first saw it by accident. A long range. Science drone passed by the edge of the Orion sector to scan for dark matter. Its sensors picked up something strange, gravity pulses, far too large for any known ship. The drone turned its cameras and captured a single image before going silent. One blurry photo was enough to start a firestorm. An emergency meeting was called. The 11 high counselors gathered in the Unity Chamber, far above the clouds of the central capital world. All watched the same image floating in the air. A huge warship, black as void, drifting through space like a sleeping beast. "It's a trick," said Counselor Vri of the Methery. A ghost echo. Static. "At!" "No," said Counselor Saren of the Thou. The drone was clean. "At!" "Look at the hull. Markings. Look there." The room fell silent. A symbol glowed faintly on the side of the ship. A circle. Inside it, a red triangle pointed downward. 3 bars crossed it like claws. The Terran mark. "Impossible," whispered Elder Cowell. "Humanity is extinct. They vanished after the Burn War. This ship cannot be real." No one spoke for a moment. The symbol was clear. It was old, yes, but real. The symbol of the human Titan-class war fleet. The kind of ship used only at the end of the war, in the last terrible battles before Earth went silent. But this one was different. They compared it to old records. Colossus-class dreadnoughts were known, yes, but this ship was even larger. Twice the length, triple the mass. A new class, never recorded. Something beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. They sent hails. Over and over again. No response. 1. A small scout ship was sent in secret to approach it. It didn't return. 2 hours later, the image feed returned briefly. It showed the scout ship sliced into 4 perfect pieces, floating like petals in space. There had been no explosion. Number. Sign of weapons fire. It's just for clean cuts. The feed cut out again. Counselor Vri stood and shouted, "We must prepare our fleets. If this is a human warship, it could attack any system." "But why would it return now?" asked Saran quietly. "What does it want?" Nobody could answer. Deep in the old war archives, a group of historians searched for clues. The humans were wiped out. Others whispered that the Terrans had chosen exile gone dark to rebuild in secret. After being betrayed by their allies during the Burn War, stories had been told. Myths, mostly. But they all spoke of the same thing. A final weapon, built by human engineers in the last days of the war, but never used. A Titan beyond Titans, a ship of judgment. Some called it Colossus. Others, simply the end, in the skies. Above the Council world, every starship was put on alert. Messages were sent across all systems. Be ready, something ancient is returning. Even as fleets gathered and planets prepared for the worst, the strange warship made no move. It drifted quietly, turning slowly, its engines cold, as if it were thinking. Until suddenly it changed course. The Council watched in horror as the ship adjusted its angle. Not by much. It was coming toward them, straight toward the heart of the galaxy, straight toward the Council worlds. One by one, the Counselor races began to panic. The Methery wanted to attack first. The Thal asked to evacuate their colonies. The Frosians suggested offering peace, even surrender. One knew if the ship was manned. Was it human? Was it a machine? A ghost? Hours passed. Then the ship sent a signal. One single word. Transmitted in a deep, cold voice that echoed across every listening channel in the galaxy. Remember, the voice sounded human. But not fully. There was something ... altered. Metallic. As if a man was speaking from deep inside an iron coffin, no one slept that night. The old races remembered. They remembered the war, the screams, the fire that fell from the sky. They remembered when humanity stood alone against 6 great empires and almost won. And they remembered how they betrayed them in the end. How they attacked Earth without warning. How they bombed human refugee fleets as they fled into deep space. The Burn War ended. Peace was declared. But the humans never came back. Their colonies went dark. Their ships stopped responding. Their systems were empty. It was said they were all gone. But now something was coming back. The next day, the mysterious ship passed through Sector 9. A small mining colony was stationed there. The miners reported seeing a giant shadow block out the stars. They said nothing else happened until all their electronics failed. Every machine shut down for exactly 6 minutes. When systems came back online, the ship was gone. But it had left something behind. A single metal sphere, the size of a melon, floating. In space, the Council retrieved it and brought it to a secure lab. When they opened it, they found a tiny data core. It played a simple message. In the ashes, we remember. In the silence, we prepare. In the dark, we return. The Council fell into chaos. The humans were alive. They had not died. They had not forgotten. And now, they had returned with a ship no species could match. A warship that made even the bravest admirals afraid to speak. A vessel that moved with the patience of an executioner. The Colossus. Back in the Orion sector. The void closed behind it. No trail. No light. Just one cold, growing truth spreading. Across the galaxy, humanity was not gone. They had simply waited for the right moment. And now, that moment had come. The Galactic Council stayed in session all night. No one left the chamber. The 11 high races of the galaxy argued, shouted, and pointed fingers. Fear was heavy in the air. Fear of something that should have stayed buried in the past. The Colossus had moved again. It had crossed 3 sectors in silence. No engines detected. No heat signatures. Yet it moved with purpose. Toward the center of the galaxy. Toward them. Counselor VA pounded the table. This is not a drill. We must send every fleet we have. That thing is a human weapon. It's war. Counselor Saren raised a thin hand. We don't know what it wants. It destroyed our scout. Didn't fire. The ship was cut, yes, but not with a weapon. We still don't understand how. That's worse. Elder Cal, the oldest among them, spoke softly. Perhaps we should not have buried the past so quickly. Perhaps it is time we face it. No one answered. The Council had always told its people that the Terrans were gone, that peace had been earned, that the war was over. But now something from that war had returned. The historians brought more reports to the chamber. Ancient documents. War files. Hidden truths. It was revealed that the humans never surrendered, unofficially. Their final message to the galaxy was simple. We will not kneel. We will disappear. And if you ever see us again, it will be too late. That message was from 103 years ago. The galaxy had believed humanity destroyed. In truth, the humans had fled. Into uncharted space. No one followed. The Council declared them extinct. But now, one of their ships had returned. Worse. It was a ship no one had ever seen before. The Colossus was far larger than any warship the Council had built. Its armor was strange black and mirror-like. Impossible to scan. Its whole shape was wrong, too sharp, too smooth, made experienced admirals uneasy just by looking at it. A special science team was called. They were led by Professor Thiel, a historian of the Burn War. He studied old human codes and designs. After hours of decoding the message sphere left in Sector 9, he looked pale. This isn't just a warning, he said. It's a countdown. The data inside the sphere was pulsing slowly. Signal. Hidden in the waveform was a timer, written in an old Earth format. The countdown had just over 26 hours left. To what? They asked. I don't know, he replied. What? But I don't think. It's an attack. I think it's an awakening. The Council panicked again. Some members wanted to hide the truth. Others wanted to warn the public, but the Colossus didn't wait. It sent another message. Time in galactic common, but the voice was still the same, low, cold, and human, to the species of the Council. The time has come. You are being judged. The message played on every channel, every screen, every radio wave. Across thousands of worlds, people heard it. Ships stopped moving. Cities went silent. Even the war-hardened soldiers of the Corran Empire looked at each other with worry. And then came the signal. A burst of strange energy. Bright, wide, and fast. Invisible to the eye, but felt in every sensor across 5 sectors. The countdown had reached 0, and the Colossus vanished, not exploded. Out. Just gone. Council scanners picked up nothing, no energy trail, no warp signature. It had moved, but no one knew where, not long after. Strange things began to happen across the galaxy. Ships started to malfunction. Surveillance drones stopped responding. Long-distance satellites picked up flashes, brief images of black shapes in deep space, and one strange discovery left everyone frozen in a sealed vault beneath a forgotten council station, orbiting a red dwarf star. A hidden archive opened on its own. The archive was locked for 100 years. Inside were records, truths long buried, a list of names, list of betrayals, and a file called Project Warden. The scientists opened it. Inside were blueprints, human blueprints, for machines, guardians, soldiers, wardens, built not to fight enemies, but to track war crimes. The Colossus was not alone. It was part of a system, a judgment system. The Council had thought they'd destroyed everything. They had been wrong somewhere. In the galaxy, these wardens were waking up, machines shaped like men, metal giants with human minds, loyal only to Earth, built to find the guilty. The rogue admiral of the Valari fleet, Commander Yaren, was the first to speak the truth in public. He transmitted a message galaxy-wide. This is not war. This is justice. The humans are not attacking. They are cleaning the rot, and we all helped build it. He showed files proving how the Council had bombed human medical ships during the Burn War, how human civilians were hunted, how colonies full of children were erased and blamed on accidents. He said, "We all knew, and we all stayed silent." But now, silence had ended. The Colossus had sent another signal. This time it came with coordinates. A planet, peaceful, small, Council-controlled. Everyone watched, frozen, as the Colossus reappeared in orbit. No ships moved, no weapons fired. From the bottom of the ship, a beam of light shone down. Something descended, not a bomb, a figure. It looked human, tall, strong, wrapped in black armor that shimmered like space. No face, no voice, just silence. It landed in the middle of the planet's capital city. The people ran. The figure stood still. Then it began, scanning everything. Buildings, streets, data centers. It stopped near an old war monument. The warden placed a hand on it. The monument changed. New names appeared, names of the dead, human names, and one sentence, carved into the stone in glowing red: guilty. The warden vanished. The Colossus disappeared again. The Council world fell into chaos, and across the galaxy, one truth spread like fire. Terran ghosts had returned, but they were not just spirits of the past. They were real, they were watching, and they had not forgiven. Darkness filled the Unity Chamber. It's not just the lighting, but the feeling. Cold, heavy, silent. Every counselor sat frozen, watching the replay on the central display. The warden, the black-armored human figure. It had appeared on the peaceful colony world without warning, scanned the city, marked the monument, then vanished. No words. No threats. Only one glowing word: guilty. Then it was gone. Like smoke in the wind, the Colossus too had disappeared again. And with it, the feeling of being watched vanished, but the fear remained. Elder Cowell finally stood. This was not an attack, he said. This was a message. A message of war, snapped Counselor Vree. No, said Cal quietly. A message of judgment, Professor Thiel confirmed it. After studying the strange wave signatures sent by the Colossus, he found a pattern. It matched an ancient Terran. Systeman old protocol known as Warden Directive 1. It meant one thing. The ship wasn't acting on emotion. It wasn't here for revenge. It was following orders. Cold, precise, written long ago. By humans who expected this day to come, the council fell silent again. Then came worse news. Another warden had appeared. This time, on the jungle world of Velexisa. Planet known for hosting a council military base during the Burn War. The warden landed in the middle of the old base, which had been turned into a museum. It walked through the halls slowly, scanned every wall, every weapon. Then it placed one hand on the floor. The building shook. The power went out. When the lights returned, a red line had appeared across the floor, leading into a sealed storage chamber. Inside that chamber, council agents found something unexpected. A mass grave. Over 4,000 human bodies, unmarked, unknown, forgotten, and above them. Etched into the wall by some invisible hand was one sentence. We remember the silence. The council could no longer hide the truth. The peace they had promised was built on secrets, lies, forgotten crimes. And now those crimes had returned to life. High Admiral Nirex of the Coran Fleet demanded action. We must destroy the Colossus before it spreads more fear. We can't let them control the galaxy with ghost stories and shadows. But even as she spoke, her own officers looked unsure. Some remembered the stories their grandparents told. Stories of human ships that moved like lightning, of weapons that melted steel, of a race that never surrendered Devon when surrounded even. When betrayed, the rogue Valari Admiral, Commander Yaren, sent another message, this time in support of the Terran return. He addressed every fleet, every world, every species. We were warned. The humans told us what they would do if we came for them, and we came anyway. We burned their colonies, shattered their home, and now they come not with hate, but with proof. He held up the data collected from the Warden Landing's coordinates. Logs, war records, these are not guesses. These are facts. The Colossus carries the truth, and the truth is heavier than any weapon. He ended his message with one final sentence. If we fight the Terrans now, we do not fight for peace. We fight to protect our lies. Counselor Saran looked across the chamber. She saw fear, guilt, anger, but also something worse, division. The council was splitting. Some wanted to fight, some wanted to run, and some wanted to surrender. That night, an emergency intelligence file was leaked to the public. No one claimed responsibility. But the data inside changed everything. It contained fragments of a human military program called Project Genesis. The fragments described the Colossus as the first of its kind, not the only one. First, the program had planned for 3 warships of the Titan-class Colossus, Behemoth, and one unnamed. Each was assigned to different quadrants of the galaxy. Each built in secret during the last years of the Burn War. Colossus was judgment. Behemoth was execution. The third, its purpose was unknown. The file ended with a single date, a reawakening protocol triggered by deep space. Radiation patterns. The date matched the exact week the strange energy storm had passed through the outer sectors. It's a natural event, or maybe not. It had activated something, and now the Titans were waking up in the days that followed. The Colossus was seen again. Near the neutral zone of the Arcan Expanse, a small fleet of patrol ships spotted it, massive, silent, drifting near a dead star. The patrol ships approached carefully. They sent signals in peace, the Colossus. RESPONDED, a simple message appeared. On their screens, not you. Stand down. The patrol ships stopped. They watched, stunned, as the Colossus turned, and vanished once more. But it had scanned them. All of them. 2 hours later, one of the patrol ships exploded without warning. No survivors. The other ships received a final transmission from the Colossus. One was guilty. The message sent fear. Through every military rank in the galaxy, this wasn't war. This was personal. This was justice. It's carried out by machines that did not miss. One admiral said, "They don't need armies. They don't need fleets. All they need is truth." The council finally admitted the truth to their citizens. They declared a galaxy-wide alert, not for war, but for investigation. They asked all member worlds to search their records to find any possible war crimes from the Burn War era, to find the guilty. Some races resisted, others helped. Some tried to delete old files, but the wardens found them anyway. Then came the worst news yet. A council listening post near the Edge Nebula detected a signal, not one, but two. Another Titan-class energy signature, even larger than Colossus, and it was moving fast, directly toward the core. Worlds. The council gathered one final time, and for the first time in 100 years, no one spoke. They simply watched the stars and waited. The sky was bright and calm over the world of Delos Prime. Birds flew, children laughed, markets were full of life. It was Unity Dea, celebration of peace among the council species. Flags waved from every building, songs played, families shared food and old stories. No one knew that by the end of that day, the sky would never feel safe again. At 1407, galactic time, the clouds changed, the air grew heavy, sunlight dimmed, though there was no eclipse. Then came the sound, not loud, not sharp, but deep, a hum so low it was felt in the bones before. It was heard in the ears. People looked up, and the sky cracked open. It was not a natural sound, not thunder. It was like the sky itself had split. Then there it was. The Colossus had appeared without warning. One moment the sky was blue, the next it was covered in black. A ship the size of a small moon floated above Delos Prime, blocking the light. Its armor gleamed like liquid metal. It did not move. It did not flash weapons. It simply watched. Panic followed. Air patrols launched within minutes. Fighters buzzed around the ship like insects, unsure whether to engage. Sirens blared through the cities. Troops flooded the streets. Defense towers locked onto the giant ship, but the Colossus did nothing. People screamed, ran for shelters. Some fell to their knees praying. The council scrambled to respond. Delos Prime was a core world full of diplomats, scientists, and citizens. From many species, a direct target. But no shots came. Instead, a light beam shone down from the bottom of the Colossus. It's not a weapon. A soft blue column, wide and slow, touching the main plaza of the capital. Inside the beam, a figure descended. It was another warden, tall, armored in black. No faceplate, no words. Just a cold metal shape walking with purpose. It landed in the center of the plaza. Soldiers surrounded it instantly. Guns pointed. Hands shaking, the warden raised one hand, not in threat, but as a signal to stop. And then it spoke. The voice was calm, deep, unmistakably human. This world is not marked for punishment. This world is marked for observation. No one moved. Warden looked slowly around, then continued speaking. Your leaders have lied. Your peace is built on silence. We remember. The warden lifted its hand again, and a strange sphere floated from its chest. It hovered above the plaza and opened. Images began to play in the air. Real images. Old images. From the Burn War, a hospital ship marked with the Red Cross. Being bombed, human refugees running into forests as war machines followed them, council soldiers dragging civilians from shelters, each image hit like a stone. Then came the final one. Earth itself, seen from orbit, burning at the edges, silent. The warden said Delos Prime was not a battlefield, but its government-approved supplies for the genocide of Mars sector civilians in cycle. 9,271. 3 council signatures. Names known, locations confirmed. It raised its arm and pointed at the Grand Senate building. The guilty are hiding there. Before anyone could act, 3 high-ranking council officials collapsed. They were already in the building. Their personal data feeds had been hacked. Heart-stopping nanosignals triggered instantly. No blood, no mess, only silence. The warden turned. The rest of you are free. And it vanished into the beam, rising back into the Colossus. The beam faded. The ship remained for a moment longer. Then it transmitted a signal across the planet's skies. Every screen, every phone, every device flashed with one word: remember. And the Colossus vanished again. No engines, no noise. Just gone. The skies were clear, but the people did not cheer. They stood in silence, watching the place where the ship had been. The images, the voice, the names. The warden had told them the truth. Their leaders were not innocent. The Colossus had not come to destroy them. It had come to open their eyes. The council gathered again. Many shouted for war. Others said it was too late. Counselor VRE ordered an attack on the next warden that appeared. We must show them we are not afraid. One of the core fleet generals, Admiral Herrock, followed that order without waiting. 3 days later, a warden appeared on a desert world used for old fleet training exercises. The admiral sent a destroyer to fire on it from orbit. The warden stood still as the missile approached. 1 second before impact, the warden raised its hand. The missile stopped in midair. It froze, then turned slowly back toward the destroyer, before anyone could stop it. The missile struck the bridge of the ship and destroyed it instantly. Over 500 crew were killed. No, their shots were fired. The warden spoke aloud. We are not here to kill, but we will not let the guilty hide behind weapons. And then it was gone. That moment changed everything across the galaxy. Military crews began refusing orders to fire on the wardens. Some officers resigned. Some turned their guns on their own. Ships to stop attacks. Admiral Yaren, the Volari defector, released a final statement. We thought the Terrans would return with blood and rage. Instead, they returned with the one thing more powerful: truth. But the truth wasn't finished. New scans revealed something massive moving in the darkness beyond the rim. Second Titan-class signature, but this one was different, heavier, faster. Its energy pulse was stronger than Colossus. Council scientists named it based on old human records. Behemoth, the Colossus had judged. Now, the Behemoth was coming, and no one knew what it would do. The Colossus was gone again, leaving behind a galaxy full of fear. It had visited 3 council worlds. Each time, it judged silently. Each time, it found someone guilty. It never attacked armies, never bombed cities. It came like a shadow, pointed to the truth and vanished. But now, something worse was coming. A second Titan-class ship had been detected. This one was bigger, hotter, and faster. It didn't hide, didn't cloak itself. It burned like a star through deep space. Its name was Behemoth. The first clear scan came from an old listening station near the rim. The crew watched it pass by, stunned. It moved straight through a meteor field. The rocks disintegrated before touching its hull, not deflected, evaporated. The station sent a message to the council: we are not ready for this. 8 hours later, the station went dark. The council met again. The panic was real now. The Colossus had been quiet, slow, precise. Behemoth looked like a weapon without mercy. Admiral Nurix, who had called for war since the start, now looked pale. We can't fight this thing. We can't even track it. What do we do? No one answered. In the middle of that silence, an unexpected signal came through. Not from a human ship, but from a small moon on the edge of Corin space. A landing pod. Had no weapons. Inside were 3 figures. Not wardens, not soldiers. Humans, real living humans. They wore plain armor. No emblems. No guns. They walked into the nearest council station and placed a small cube on the table. This is your history, one said. Not ours. The cube activated, and holograms began to play. Footage, documents, conversations, satellite logs. All. From over 100 years ago, all showing the truth. Council ships bombing human refugee Convoys, council spies planting false flags to trigger the Burn War. Council leaders ordering orbital strikes on human colonies and blaming mutiny. The cube had everything, even secret meetings. Signed orders. Voice recordings. The humans stood silently as council officers watched in horror. One officer, young Mathari, said in a shaking voice, "Why now? Why show us this now?" The human answered, "Because justice doesn't rush. It waits for the right time." They left without another word. The cube's data was sent to every system in the galaxy. Within hours, it was everywhere. People on thousands of worlds were seeing the truth. Riots broke out on capital planets. Citizens demanded their leaders explain what really happened to the humans. In the middle of this storm, the Colossus returned. But not to a capital. It came to a prison planet Eska-7. No one knew why at first. The planet was mostly forgotten, used for keeping war criminals under deep isolation. A single warden landed and walked through locked doors like they were paper. It reached Cell 9A. Inside was an old alien, half-blind, trembling. The warden spoke. Warden protocol activated. Crime, genocide, sentence, termination. The prisoner tried to speak. Dag. But the warden placed one hand on his chest, and he simply stopped. No pain, no blood, just silence and peace. The Colossus sent one message to the council: 100 more. 100 more names. 100 more hidden war criminals. The galaxy had only days to find them. Before the behemoth arrived, some worlds began to cooperate. They searched their records, found names, sent messages. Others refused. They said the past was gone, that justice was too late. Behemoth did not agree when it reached the planet. Halarisa, rich trade world known for denying all human involvement, did not send a warden. It sent a warning. A beam of light circled the planet once. Every satellite, every weapon, every drone shut down instantly. Then, on every screen, the following appeared: lies cost more than silence. You were warned. Then came the blast. Not a weapon, a pulse. Every power grid died. Every ship in orbit fell from the sky, gently. Somehow landing with no deaths, the entire planet was left powerless. No attack, just silence and fear. Behemoth left, and now the galaxy knew. Behemoth did not bring words, it brought consequence. The Colossus judged, the Behemoth forced, and the Council had no way to stop them. But they weren't alone anymore. More ships were starting to appear. Sleek, silent, human, in design but new, fast, clean, watching. And then came the final message, broadcast across the stars in hundreds of languages. We gave you time. You chose silence. Now you will answer. The judgment continues. Across the galaxy, lights flickered, wardens landed, doors opened, secrets came into the light, and humanity, once hunted and burned, stood again, not with fire, but with truth sharpened. Like a blade, the judgment had begun, and there would be no escape. The galaxy was no longer the same. The wardens were everywhere now. One by one, they were landing on council-controlled planets. They did not hide. They did not rush. They simply appeared, judged, and vanished. And the people could do nothing. But watch. On the city world of Valora Prime, a warden appeared in the middle of a busy market. It stood there, without moving, for 3 minutes. Then it walked forward. Crowds opened in silence as it passed. A merchant tried to run. The warden followed him without speaking. The merchant begged. "I didn't do anything," the warden replied. "You ordered the weapons shipment that destroyed Sanctuary Colony? 9281C. 72,000 civilian deaths." "I was just following orders," the merchant whispered. "The protocol does not forgive orders." With one motion, the warden touched his chest. The man collapsed, dead, peaceful, clean. No one else was harmed. The warden looked around, then simply walked away and disappeared into a light beam from above. The Colossus had returned briefly in orbit to extract it, and then it left again. A pattern was forming. Each warden followed its own list. Each target was someone from the burn. War era. Every judgment was fast and final, and not one was wrong. Back in the council chamber, fear was changing to desperation. "They're not fighting our armies," said Admiral Nurex. "They're not even giving us a chance." "They already gave us a chance," replied Saren. 100 years of it. Rogue Admiral Yaren sent another message, this time from deep space. "I've spoken with one of the humans face to face," he said. "They are not here for revenge. They are here to restore balance." The Warden Protocol was built not as punishment but as truth, explained what he had learned. During the final year of the Burn War, the humans saw their fall coming. They knew they could not win a war against the 6 allied species. But they also knew the truth would be buried, so they built the Wardens, not as weapons, but as living evidence. Wardens were part machine, part memory. Each one held locked data about real crimes, names, coordinates, and proof. They would sleep for a century and wake only if the final condition was met. Total silence from the galaxy. That silence lasted 103 years now. The Wardens were awake. The Council tried to fight back. On Vastron, a special unit captured a Warden. They brought it to a lab and tried to shut it down. The result was disaster. The Warden allowed itself to be taken. Once inside the lab, it activated a virus, not in the network in the minds of every officer present. They began seeing visions, not hallucinations, memories. They saw themselves in the bodies of humans, children running, cities burning, the horror of betrayal. Then it stopped. All 20 scientists stood in silence, crying. The Warden spoke only once. "You do not understand justice until you've lived the pain." And then it self-destructed, without harming anyone. Across the galaxy, these moments spread. On one world, a Warden stopped a riot by revealing a secret. The governor who ordered the execution of protesters had also stolen relief supplies meant for human colonies during the Burn War. On another, a Warden landed in a school and showed the students real footage from a human ship's last stand, where medics treated enemy soldiers while under fire, only to be bombed by those they were helping. The galaxy began to change, not from force, but from truth. The Warden Protocol was not a war. It was a mirror, and everyone was being forced to look into it, but not all accepted it. A powerful industrial leader, Lord Stravak of the Rin, offered a reward for any captured Warden. He said he would break them open and destroy their memory cores. 1 week later, a message was broadcast. It showed Lord Stravak, alive and unharmed. He was sitting alone in his private estate. Behind him stood a Warden. The Lord looked at the camera and said, "I surrender. I was wrong. I helped bury the truth. Oh, I will answer for it." The Warden then said, "Confession received, sentence deferred," and it walked away. That was the first time a Warden spared someone because they confessed. It gave others hope. Soon, people began stepping forward. Old officers, soldiers, traitors, spies. They told what they had. Some were taken peacefully. Some were allowed to live and serve in public truth tribunals. The Warden Protocol was not just killing, it was judging. And that meant there was a way out if you told the truth first. But even this could not stop what came next. Far beyond the Council's reach, another signal was detected. A third Titan-class ship was waking. But it was different. Its power was unstable. Its signal was fractured. Its name, known, but its route, was headed for Earth. And no one knew what that meant. Back at the Colossus, more Wardens were preparing. One of them, Warden Unit 09, looked up from its stasis dock. "Protocol reaching Phase 3, it said. "The core must be alerted." Another voice answered, "Deep, calm, human. Then let them come." The return of humanity was no longer a mystery. It was a movement, and it had only just begun. The stars were quiet again, but only for a moment. The Colossus had vanished after its last judgment. The behemoth had gone silent after disabling an entire planet, and now a third presence had entered the edge of the galaxy. Stronger, wilder, unknown. The scanners gave it no name. Signal was broken, pulsing like a wounded beast. But every few hours, one word came through, repeating again and again in an old human dialect. Core. 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 It was headed for the Sol system. Headed for Earth. The Council didn't know what to call it, so they used the name found in a forgotten Terran archive, Leviathan. Unlike Colossus and Behemoth, the Leviathan was not stable. It moved like a storm. It left behind strange radiation trails. Dead stars, collapsed gravity pockets. No one could explain it. Some thought it was damaged. Others feared it was something more, a final weapon. Humans never finished, but it was moving fast, and its target was clear: the forgotten homeworld of mankind, Earth. The problem was, no one had seen Earth in 100 years. After the burn, war, the humans sealed it off. The warp lanes vanished. Coordinates were erased from every map. The Council thought it was gone, but now Leviathan was going there, and the Colossus was already waiting nearby. On the edge of the Orion wastes, the Colossus powered up, but not for war. Inside its deep control core, something was waking. Not a machine. A man, Commander Elias. Ro, human alive. His body had been frozen for over a century inside the heart of the ship, cryo-locked under Warden command. He was once one of Earth's last defenders. Now he was needed again, as his eyes opened. A calm female voice greeted him. Commander Ro, Warden protocol is in final phase. Behemoth has executed secondary compliance. Leviathan is in approach vector, awaiting instruction. He blinked, staring at the stars above. How many? Asked. Over 43 Council-linked war crimes confirmed. 31 confessions. 16 full truths. Justice rate, 52% complete. He breathed in slowly. They're not all monsters, he said. Correct, the AI replied. But monsters were protected by silence. He stood slowly and looked. At the star map in front of him, 3 Titan-class vessels moved like ancient gods across the stars. Machines built not to rule, but to remember. And now the third was waking. Meanwhile, on Council World Threxen, a surprise transmission arrived. From a human woman, she wore simple armor. Her voice was calm, her eyes tired. I am Captain Myra Thorne, of the Terran Corps. I speak for the remaining High Command of Earth. The Council chamber froze. She continued, the Wardens are not here to conquer you. They were built to test one thing, whether your species could admit the truth. We did not want war. We wanted memory. But now, Leviathan is moving. One of the counselors asked, what is the Leviathan? Captain Mira answered slowly. A mistake. A judgment too strong to control. It was built to defend Earth if we were ever erased. We didn't die, but it doesn't know that. It's still running. The final order, which is, they asked, to erase everything that hurt us. The room fell silent. If it reaches Earth, she said, it will begin a full burn. One of the counselors leaned forward. You're saying this ship will wipe out the galaxy? Not the galaxy, just the guilty. But it no longer knows the difference. The Council had one last chance. Captain Mira made her request. Send a delegation. Come to Earth. See what we became. Understand us. If you don't, Leviathan will not stop. A vote was called. Many counselors said no. They feared a trap. But one group said yes, led by Counselor Saren and Admiral Urin. They boarded a human escort. Ship, sleek, silent, guarded by 2 wardens, and for the first time in over 100 years, they traveled to Earth. When they arrived, they were not prepared. The planet wasn't dead. It was alive, beautiful, rebuilt. The sky was clean. The cities glowed in harmony with nature. Giant green forests had returned where bombs once fell. Oceans were full. People walked freely in streets lined with old Terran banners, and in the center of it all stood a great tower white, gold and glowing with energy inside. The counselors met the real Earth leaders. They were calm, focused, and they explained everything. They had never vanished. They had simply waited, watched, rebuilt. In the shadows, they told how Earth's children grew up with stories of betrayal, but also of forgiveness. They built the Wardens not for revenge, but to test if the galaxy could ever face its sins without force. Some had, others had not. And now, Leviathan was coming to finish what was never meant to start. Commander Rowe stood before the counselors. "This is your choice now," he said. "We can shut Leviathan down, but we need you to speak one truth publicly, one full official confession." "If we do," said Counselor Saren, "do we live?" "Yes," said Rowe. "You join us. We build a new peace. And if we don't?" "Burn." No one smiled. No threats, just facts. In deep space, the Leviathan crossed the final threshold. Its hull burned with strange energy. Its mind, what remained of it, was locked on Earth. Inside, no human voice guided it. Only programming, final. Directive: protect core, remove threat, and every species in the Council was still marked as a threat, unless the truth reached it in time. Back on Earth, the counselors stood in front of a galaxy-wide broadcast. They looked into the camera and they told the truth, the real truth, of how they betrayed Earth, how they started the Burn War, how they killed to silence a rising power. They named the leaders, showed the documents, spoke without lies. When they finished, they said, "We were wrong. Humanity did not vanish. It rose, and we thank it for not becoming like us." The message was sent. The stars waited. Leviathan slowed. For the first time in a century, it received a new signal. It was not a command. It was truth. And for the first time, it paused. Inside its core, a system blinked. Truth received. Core protected. Termination canceled. It stopped. And slowly, it shut down. The Titans had tested the galaxy, and the galaxy finally had spoken. But Earth had one last message, and it was from the Colossus. The voice of Commander Rowe echoed across. "The stars, we were made of fire. You burned us. But we rose from ash. Now we offer you a choice. Forget the lies, or live in their shadow forever." The galaxy had changed, and the Titans were watching. The galaxy was no longer ruled by silence. For the first time in over 100 years, the truth was known. The Burn War had not ended in peace. It ended in betrayal. Billions of humans were killed, their colonies erased, their people hunted and forgotten, but they survived. And they returned not with fleets of conquest, but with titans of judgment. The Colossus, the Behemoth, the Leviathan. 3 ships built, not to conquer, but to hold the galaxy accountable. Now, all 3 stood still in deep space, forming a triangle near the edge of the Sol system. Their black holes reflected the stars, massive and silent. But every system in the galaxy knew they were watching. On Earth, humanity did not cheer. They did not hold parades or celebrations. Stood quietly, remembering the past and watching the future unfold. Inside the Colossus, Commander Elias Rowe sat in the command chamber. The voice of the ship's AI echoed gently around him. Warden protocol complete. Confessions recorded. Leviathan shutdown confirmed. He looked at the map of the galaxy. So many lights, so many voices. Some still full of fear. Some filled with shame, but many now carried something new. Hope. For the first time, the galaxy saw what Earth had become. Not a wasteland. Not a ghost. A civilization reborn. Quiet, advanced, and patient. They had not erased the past. They had learned from it. Admiral Yaren, once an enemy, now stood in Earth's central plaza beside Counselor Saren. Their words had helped stop the Leviathan. Their honesty had done more than any weapon could. Why did they wait? Saren asked the human beside her. Captain Myra Thorne gave a small smile. Because waiting showed us who you really were. You see, if we had returned right away, you would have only feared us. But by waiting, you showed your true face, and parts of it were ugly, but parts. In the days that followed, more wardens returned to the Colossus. Their tasks were complete. The last names had been judged. Some had been punished, some forgiven. The data was sealed in the Titan's core. The behemoth entered sleep mode near the edge of the Orion wastes. Its hull still pulsed with silent power, but it was now at peace. The Leviathan remained still, locked in orbit around Earth. For the first time since its creation, its weapons were off. Its core was stable. Human engineers slowly moved to reclaim it, not to launch it again, but to unbuild it carefully, safely. Its mission was complete. The galaxy had spoken the truth, but not everyone celebrated. In hidden corners of space, some species still called it a trick, test, a trap. They spoke of future wars and whispered that Earth had gained too much power, but those voices were smaller now because the people had seen the real battle, and it wasn't fought with lasers or ships. It was fought with truth. Across hundreds of worlds, statues of the Wardens were built not as rulers, but as reminders. On Valora Prime, a child placed flowers at the base of a Warden sculpture, whispering, "Thank you for not forgetting us." On Threxen, a memorial garden was planted where once a Warden had judged a corrupt governor. The sign at its gate read, "The past cannot be erased, but it can be faced." Earth opened its gates to the galaxy not as conquerors, but as neighbors. Trade began. Knowledge flowed. Human historians shared full records of the Burn War with every species, unedited, raw, and real. And in return, some council worlds shared their truths, small acts of kindness during the war that had been buried. A soldier who smuggled food, 2 human prisoners, a captain who spared a colony against orders, a doctor who refused to sign the extermination lists. These acts, too, were remembered, because the Colossus remembered everything. And now, so would the stars. In time, Earth joined. The Council, again not under it, but beside it. A new order was formed. One built on honesty, shared history, and strict rules to never forget what had happened. They called it the Accord of the Remembrance Stars. All new military action across the galaxy now required open history review. All crimes, no matter how old, were to be judged openly. And Earth would lead the Department of Truth-Keeping with the help of its most silent protectors, the Wardens, not as enforcers, but as watchers, if the lies returned. So would they in the final days of that era. Commander Rowe stood on a quiet hill overlooking the Earth he helped save. He spoke to a group of young students. They asked him, "Why did you choose justice over revenge?" He smiled. "Because revenge ends with fire, but justice ends with memory." One child raised their hand. "Will the Titans ever wake again?" Rowe looked at the sky. "They'll wake if they're needed. But maybe now. The galaxy will make sure they sleep forever." That night, the Colossus entered final rest mode, deep within the asteroid belt. Its lights faded. Its voice fell silent. But one final message echoed through its core. "We remember, we always will." And so the stars remembered, and peace finally began.